Graduate school and school in general can be traumatic. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I have spent many years working in the mental health field, and I want to respond to this comment where they talk about, yes, I believe in taking a break off from school when your mental health isn't the best. I did it, and I don't regret it. My parents shamed me for it, but I didn't care. My mental health is important to me. And I applaud this writer for saying that, or this commenter for saying that, because I think that is so important to point out. One is that, a lot of times I've been asked why a psychotic break when in school. A lot of times when these young people are in school, or whatever age you are, when you're in school, you're in grad school, med school, whatever school that you're in. A lot of times when you're in college, you're on your own. You're out there by yourself. You are many people are away from home, and they are doing life for the first time. And that in it, that transition in it of itself is very stressful of that. But if you come from a family, an ethnic family, a black family, you're a first generation of anything, there is this pressure. Get your school. Get your good grades in your school. I don't care what you do. I just want to see all A's on your report card. We're rooting for you. Sometimes our parents, our support system get so caught up in the performative aspects, like of doing well, of getting that grade, of making that mark. They're not really tuned in to mentally, how young folks are able to process that, and how they're doing with all of that added pressure. Because that then becomes pressure too. Like, I have to continue performing well despite how I feel. My parents don't want to hear that I'm not doing well. My parents don't want to hear that I'm struggling. And unfortunately, that's been the case with some of my colleagues that have passed, or that didn't fare too well in college and grad school, is that their parents weren't listening. I won't say that's the case for all of them, but there is sort of this like, get it, get your grades. And so when these young people that I would see in psych emergency, they would have these psychotic breaks, and their parents would come in. Their parents, how long till they can go back to school? That's the first thing they're asking. Like, okay, like I don't want my child on medications, but how long until they can go back to school? Like, I want them to just sort of clean up this act and go back to school. Like, I hear you. Yeah, but I don't really believe in this mental health stuff that you're telling me. I just want my child to pack it up and go back to school. And no, I'm not taking my child out of school. And no, they're not going to slow down on their credits. But you kind of, as a child, if you can, or as an adult child, that's kind of go through this, you have to try to take the driver's seat as much as you can. But unfortunately, our parents don't want to listen to us. Not only that, as I started out with this post, grad school in itself can be very traumatic. I mean, some of these teachers within grad school can be psychopathic and sociopathic in and of themselves, because a lot of them can be on a power kick. When people have subordinates, be it students, or be it what was I? A lab assistant, a TA, those kinds of things. Those people that are over you can certainly be on a power kick, and they want to run you through the mud. They make you want to, they can kind of make you want to work hard for things. They could be extra hard on tests. They could be extra critical. I remember when I went to East Carolina, in East Carolina, when I went, was a good old boys school. So it was a mostly white university, and I was told, when I went there, you're never going to be a doctor. You're just never going to be a doctor. So you can have those people, those professors that can be nasty, that can inflict their opinion on you. And even when I went to Alliant, I was in mental health. I was going through it in grad school. So I was in therapy once a week. Still go to therapy once a week. But when I was in Alliant, and I was doing my dissertation, and then I had my committee, and we had to have a committee of 3 people, and I had passed. Everyone had passed. and everything like that. And everyone was on board. And then, a day or two later, one of the guys that passed me said, "Oh, I changed my mind." And I didn't want to meet with him, and go to lunch with him and things like that after. And he was like, "Oh, I changed my mind. I don't think Natalie had to pass." And unfortunately, you have to, when that kind of stuff happens, I encourage everybody to always, either get a lawyer involved, because now you're playing with livelihood. And it's really, everyone's there. And unfortunately, I found out the hard way that sometimes professors band together even when they know that something wrong is happening with their students, whether their students are being bullied. You've got bad professors. You've got professors that are condescending. You can have professors that are even racist, or you can have professors that are inappropriate, sexually inappropriate, that sleep with students and things like that. You can have a whole host of things that go on. Anything I've encountered it where you've had people that are just inappropriate. And I think, I'm sure there's a lot of women or a lot of people out there that listen to me and, have some trauma stories from undergrad or grad school where a teacher has abused their power, and that happens so frequently. And everything sort of worked itself out. But that's just an example of how, that's unnecessary stress that you can put on a student, just because someone wants to get their rocks off on having power, and once again, getting that attention, from students. So that does happen even in this day and age. So protect your mental health, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to be your own advocate against your parents. And I've seen many parents over the years that have come to check on their children, and I want my child out of this psychiatric hospital. They don't belong here. I just want them going back to school. They're fine. They just needed a break. They're fine to go back to school. No, they're not fine. And unfortunately, if parents don't listen, 100% of the time, they find out the hard way that they didn't do what was best. And sometimes those things can be, if they push their children so much so, and they're not listening, they're not wanting to talk about things, they find out the hard way that, their child isn't going to be able to bounce back. And unfortunately, sometimes when people have a severe mental illness, and I've worked with many people, many young people like this, unfortunately, they get so sad and so upset, and some of them become so suicidal because it's like this embarrassment and this shame. I can't talk to my parents. They don't want to hear that. Like, I can't face them and tell them that I can't finish school. And sometimes it's not even parents, but it's our own sort of, our own psyche that's like, that's a dream that I can't let go. And I've spoken to you guys about Mrs. Diana Ross and the movie Out of Darkness, and she had a hard time letting go of her dream, but she tried to go against it, and it didn't work. It didn't fare well.